Welcome back. I'm Representative Patricia Morgan, and I have with me today Mike Collins, who is the captain of the business network, the Gaspee Business Network, which is going to be an advocacy group for small businesses and
Right.
large businesses.
Absolutely,
Any business.
small to large. Right.
Any business, from, what did you say, from making the nails to pounding the nails.
From polishing the nails to pounding the nails. That's
Okay.
what we want, yeah.
We were talking about the hostile business climate here in Rhode Island, and it has been hostile for a long time. And that's really demonstrated more to individuals in our jobs climate, right? Companies, all kinds of companies are the ones that supply the jobs. And when
Yeah.
you're squeezing them, the jobs go away.
Well, you have high workman's comp in the state. You have a very selective market in workman's comp because over the years there's been so much workman's comp abuse, carriers chose not to come to Rhode Island and write here. So, Beacon Mutual is a quasi-Rhode Island state agency or formed by the state for the protection of Rhode Island businesses. They do a very good job, but there's no competition to Beacon. And
There's no competition there. I've just heard so many complaints from businesses, and they don't want to stick their head up out of the foxhole, but they just say that every single ruling goes against businesses. It's
Yes.
just like they can always, if somebody decides they're going to, go to the workman's comp court, the businesses know they're going to lose, even if they can put forth a good argument.
Oh, yeah, the Department
that the person wasn't really injured on site.
Well, because it's the pro-labor attitude in the state, and it comes down to whether it's Department of Labor and Training, workman's comp, or whatever, you've lost before you even filed as a business owner.
You've lost before you filed.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I noticed this last year is we were looking at the Institute for Labor Studies and Research, which is a pro-union group. And one of their board members is the Chief Justice of the Workmen's Comp Court.
Wow.
Such a conflict of interest, and yet it goes on here in Rhode Island.
But on another note, we're giving them $500,000 a year to learn how to use that workman's
Yeah,
comp, right?
we're telling people.
And telling people how
we're
to
training people.
training people how to file charges against
Even
us. It's a beautiful
summer
thing.
interns. We are training summer
Yeah.
interns for the state how to file workman's comp claims.
It's funny because, the abusiveness of power is real. We're wasting our time with pine cones or leaves going on my driveway.
We're going to
or-
fine you if you have your leaves fall in somebody else's
Or a 2-week
yard.
work schedule to businesses that would have been absolutely absurd, I believe by Rep. Tansey, okay, that would have just cost businesses an enormous amount of scheduling money. And it's very
Well,
clueless that there's no business experience there.
That was where you had to tell somebody 2 weeks ahead of time if their schedule was going to
Right.
change. And in almost every business, from restaurants to manufacturers, schedules change. People get overtime, or they don't, or it's so many changes.
The unpredictability in business, as everyone knows, you don't know who's coming in, who's calling out sick, especially nowadays. And it's little things like that. I have friends of mine that are in the restaurant business, and one of them was talking to me over the weekend. And the 8% restaurant, that 1%, where is that money? All right, it got general funded.
It goes to the general
It
fund.
goes to
Well,
the general-
1% of it goes to municipalities, and the rest goes to the general fund.
but the rest of the general fund.
But, the thing is, we're always looking to grab more and more money out of businesses.
When does it stop?
Right, even property taxes, the commercial rate is more,
Oh, is that-
much more than the residential rate. And it just goes on and on and on.
Contrary to what they might think up there, there's not a perpetual stream of wealth coming out of businesses. We employ people, whether we manufacture or service industry, we need to derive profits. So profits keep us buying from each other, or allow us to buy from each other, and in return, businesses prosper and we create jobs. When you start feeing us and taxing us and insurancing us to death, we become unprofitable or marginally profit, and therefore we can't spend because it's not there to spend.
You can't buy the new machinery, you can't buy, enlarge your plant, you can't put a salesperson on the payroll so that he can sell more product. You're stuck because the money is just going out the door.
You have very high utility bills up here, for example. So anybody in the manufacturing business would either try to invest into high efficient, low energy
That's right.
low energy machines. That takes money. Where's the tax breaks for that? But yet, hey, I applaud the governor for the fact that, okay, she got GE to come for 100 jobs, but it's overtime, and we gave $5 million. So we gave $50,000 a job.
Yeah.
$50,000 a seat.
You know, the taxpayers can't afford to pay for every job that
We're
comes
paying
into Rhode Island.
$50,000 a seat. That could have bought somebody a machine.
Yeah.
That could have put 3 people to work.
You know, well, perhaps we shouldn't go down that road, but we paid for 100 to come. How many did we lose?
Well, that's on the other aspect.
There's the other
you know.
aspect, but you're going to work on both sides.
I'm trying to work on both sides, and it's amazing. I have business people calling me daily. They want to join, and they want to make sure that their voice is heard. And it's funny because it sounds like a broken record. It's the same thing out of everybody. I've had enough. I love this state. I don't know if I can afford to stay here anymore. And that's pretty sorrowful. I was born and raised Rhode Islander, okay? Generational truckman, shall we
Yep,
say.
you're
like
a truck
that.
owner. You're a
Well,
truck company
I'm
owner.
a trucking company owner. And, you know, it's amazing because myself and my brother are partners. I have 2 young guys in my business that I brought in for successorship. And you know what? I hope they have a good run. It's somewhat, but the business environment has to change for these guys to be able to survive.
Yeah.
And what we're trying to do here is, whether it's through advocacy, through electioning, however it may be, we have to get a pro-business agenda back at the State House. And
Or just at least a neutral one that's not hostile.
absolutely.
Right, you just can't have one where you want to punish every business, or you look at them like the bad guys. They're not the bad guys.
No. We're providing the tax base for their $9 billion budget, whether they realize that or not. You know, without us, there's no existence.
Well, the jobs aren't there. Businesses employ people.
But Pat, whether it's a Chinese restaurant, a hardware store, or whatever, we all employ people.
Yep.
If you keep running us out of here, then you have no one living here because there's no jobs for people. They can't stay. So why don't we start taking care of our own?
I tell you, one of the saddest things that I noticed in a report this last year was the demographic that is leaving Rhode Island the most. So we know that Rhode Island is losing population. And the population that we're losing is 25 to 45.
Absolutely.
So, you know, I thought it was seniors, quite
No.
frankly, who were leaving, because everybody says to me, as soon as I retire, I'm out of here. I can't afford to stay. And we actually, I think I saw today, we have the 6th highest cost of living in the country.
Right.
But it's not that demographic. It's the people who are in the most productive years of their lives.
Yeah.
They can't find opportunity here.
Well, let's put it in perspective. They come out of school, they're in debt. Most of them have college loans. If they go for their masters or whatever, they're right at that age juncture trying to jump into the job market. Except if you work for the Raimondo administration, there's probably no $200,000 a year job for you. With that being said, and then we create train stations to ship them to Boston. So
Yeah, we need to use that money to either reduce taxes, reduce regulations, do something to improve our jobs climate.
Absolutely.
Because people wouldn't leave if there were good jobs here for them.
It
There aren't.
Right. And yet we're talking about another train station here in Pawtucket to ship more jobs out of state.
I know.
So what are we going to be, a bed community? I mean, you know what? We've got to pay attention here, people. I mean, that little ice cream store or the little milk store can go by the wayside very quickly. You know, I'm a big believer in supporting our own.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm a big believer in it too, and we're going to talk about it when we get right back.